see you again. This is our last day of our Emerging Leaders series. So I'm so glad you're here. Today is Wednesday, September the 24th, and our presentation is from 3 to 4 p.m. We have a great guest speaker for you to end the series. His name is Austin Bowman, and there's going to be a lot of great takeaways. So I'm so glad you're here. I'd like to thank Mr. Doctor for putting this together, coordinating it for our students. We do this to keep you motivated, inspired, and focused on your program. So we hope that you enjoy today's presentation, and we will again try to host another presentation for you possibly next semester. So thank you again. We have some housekeeping rules that we just wanted to go over. So the meeting is being recorded, and thank you for your professionalism. Everyone is muted. You can turn your video on or off if you would like us to see your screen or not. So whatever you feel comfortable with is perfectly fine. If you have any questions, which we encourage you to ask questions, could you please put them in the chat box, which is at the bottom of your screen, but after the presentation is over. So it's easier for us to keep the questions organized and to be able to give those questions over to Austin. So if you could do that, that would be great. So just hold your questions for right now until after the presentation. Also, if you look at the bottom of your screen, you should see a little heart, and it's a reaction icon. So for my Mounties out there, my scholars, can you go ahead and just click on a reaction so we know you're out there, you're engaged, you're connected with us. We see you on the call, and we're really excited that you're here.
我们有啥报告的视频？
We have the Accounting, Finance, and Management Club, so we just wanted to talk to you briefly about that. There is a QR code that you can see on this slide, and if you click on the QR code, it will take you to the main site, and it'll give you information on the business club. The business club meets every Thursday this semester on campus from 4:30 to 5:30 at room 793290. I'm an advisor, and Mr. Doctor is an advisor for the business club. And we're going to focus on a lot of really great topics this semester. So we're going to focus on like how to create a small business, accounting. So there's going to be a lot of really good topics. This is a really great space to network and get to know your colleagues. So we invite you this Thursday, which is tomorrow, to come to campus and check it out. Hang out with us. There's always a lot of great takeaways, and there might be one more person that you could add to your network that you get to meet. So please, feel free to join us. It is also a hybrid meeting. So if you can't come on campus, you can feel free to Zoom in with us, and feel free either to come on campus or online. So we invite you to do the club meeting tomorrow.
这个画的。
We also advise another club on campus. It's the Alpha Gamma Sigma Club. This is a state chartered honor club. You do have to have a 3.0 or higher, and we also focus on community service, which is also really great when you're applying for scholarships. We are one of the only 2 honor clubs on campus that's recognized by Mount SAC. We are in the Mount SAC catalog. Also, when you graduate or you're transferring and you participate in the ceremony, Mount SAC does recognize you at the graduation ceremony in our program as well. So it's a really good club to get involved with. There's so many great clubs on campus, but these are the 2 clubs that are hosted by the Accounting and Management Department. So we encourage you to get involved. There are some QR codes here too. And the club meets on Fridays, and there are 2 positions that are currently open. So think about possibly being an officer in one of the clubs. It's great to put on your resume. It's great to put on your application for transfer. Are there any students out there that are looking to transfer to a 4-year? Maybe you could give me a reaction so we could see you out there. Yeah, so this is like such a good club to be part of as well. So think about it. Sometimes it could give you, some leverage when you're applying to transfer. So AGS, again, it is state chartered. We are the Zeta chapter, and we'd love for you to join in. We wanted to introduce ourselves to you. For those of you who don't know us, some of you do. You are either current students, past students, or hopefully you'll be future students with us. But in the accounting and management department, I'm the co-chair of the management side of the department. So we have 27 different programs. And our disciplines are within marketing, small business management, retail management, business administration. There's so many of them, social media. So if you ever have any questions regarding your program, know that you could come to any one of us. I'm the co-chair of the department, and I can help you with any questions you might have about your business program. Also, if you don't know already, Mr. Derek Doctor is on the call, and he was the one who coordinated these great presentations, webinars for us. So, Mr. Doctor, maybe you could say hello and wave to us.
Thank you, Professor Martinez. Professor Martinez and I work on these things together for you students to be successful, because we want you to be successful in the marketplace today and now. And we just want to get as much advice and wisdom for you from what we teach to you in the hands of your hands. And so I teach supply chain management. I teach in the human relations class for business management. And that's kind of my specialty. But thank you again for being on this call. I'm going to take it back to Mrs. Martinez.
All right. So Mr. Doctor heads up our supply chain management discipline. We also have Professor Laura Tracy, and she heads up our marketing discipline. So if you have questions regarding your marketing management degree or your social media marketing certificate, which is chancellor approved, feel free to reach out to her or to any one of us. I just saw that we have Kayla, who's one of our AGS officers, and Kelvin, who's our president of the AGS club. So if they could go ahead and turn on their screens and talk a little bit about their experience with AGS.
Hi everyone. I'm Ms. Martinez.
Hello.
Hi, so I'm Kelvin, the president of AGS, and
I'm Kayla, the secretary of AGS.
yeah, so I think Ms. Martinez has already went over it. So our club is the only one of the 2 honors club on campus, aside from PTK, and we'll do volunteering work, volunteering services. We will go on volunteering field trips together with the club members, and it's pretty fun. And right now we have 2 positions available, 2 official positions, which is ICC and the treasurer position. And our election is coming up this Friday.
So today our interest form actually closes at 11:59 if anyone's interested in running for one of those 2 positions.
I have a flyer that you guys can scan. I'll send it in the chat. And yeah, like Kayla said, the application expires at 12 midnight. Thank you so much for this little section.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Kelvin.
Have a good one.
So these are students that you will be able to meet at the AGS meeting, and it's great to surround yourself with like-minded people, because it keeps you motivated and it keeps you inspired. So this is your home. Mount SAC is your home. It is your community. So take advantage of that. Get to know each other. There's so many great companies that have come out of knowing your colleagues at Stanford, University of Virginia. There's so many. So these are just good opportunities, and you don't want to miss out on an opportunity, especially to know your colleagues. You never know if you're going to see them at another event or in a class, or possibly at your next interview. So get involved. Like I said, this is your community. Next slide. I'm going to hand this off to Mr. Doctor, and he is going to introduce our guest speaker for today, which is our main presentation.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Martinez, and great job, AGS students. That was wonderful. So this is going to be our last speaker for our business webinar, Emerging Leaders series. And so we're really excited. Austin Bauman is actually at the University of Riverside. So some of you students that want to go to university, or this would be a great person to ask questions to. Not only does he care about his school education, but he's already in the workforce. He actually has maybe some advice for some of you that want to do internships. He's a leader. He's actually a part of this sort of supply chain society on campus, and he actually believes in community. He's just doing this out of the goodness of his heart, and so I just think that's so wonderful. So let's all give a virtual round of applause to Austin Bauman. Go ahead, Austin. Take it away.
All right, hello everyone. I hope you all are doing great today. So I'm going to share my screen here. All right, so let's get started today. So I want to give you guys a little introduction on who I am. So yes, my name is Austin. I'm a current second-year MBA student at the University of California, Riverside, and I am concentrating in supply chain management. Back in 2024, I got my Bachelor's of Science in Math. And I am going to be a future operations manager at Target starting in January 2026. So a little bit more about me. I enjoy traveling around the U.S. with my fiance, especially to the national parks. And I'm a big cat guy, as you can kind of see in the picture there. So one of the things I wanted to answer first is why leadership matters to me now. And the reason that it matters to me now is because I look at it as something that I was able to grow little by little over time. And it opened so many opportunities for me, opened doors, and it's something that I utilize almost every day now. So maybe for those of you who don't know what an MBA is, it's a Master's in Business Administration. It's a 2-year program, and depending on where you go, it can be an in-person or can be an online program. And a little bit more into an MBA, you will see that there's a lot that comes from or that you can learn from your undergrad business programs that it'll tie into it. But really an MBA focuses more on the leadership, the management aspect, and really tries to get you into like internships for one. That's a heavy emphasis. You need an internship in order to graduate. And networking especially. So why would it be needed? For one, for me personally, as I had mentioned before, I got my bachelor's in math in 2024, and I used it to make a pivot into a whole different degree. So other people may get an MBA in order to move up in their career, to promote and move up in their company. So and then I would like to talk about my club that I'm in now, which is the Supply Chain Society. So the Supply Chain Society, just to give a little bit about what we do, we are a club at UCR, and we're looking to bring in students interested in supply chain, build their networks up, have people come in with common interests, as well as bring them internship opportunities, and to kind of help students get a better understanding of what supply chain is. In my specific role in outreach, what I'm responsible for is going into those, sending emails out, connecting with those in the industry and setting up site tours for one, or even bringing in guest speakers for some of the events that we host. So, okay. So some of the things that we'll start with leadership. I really want to talk about some of the common misconceptions about it, which some of them are the born versus made misconceptions. So you may have heard before, or someone's told you that basically you're either born a leader or you're not, and you can't be made into one. Another misconception has been that you have to be arrogant or you have to be mean in order to be a successful leader. The other thing is that it's too late to start. So maybe if you haven't been involved in leadership up to this point, that it's too late for you. And the last thing is that maybe you've been told that if you're not in a club, that you haven't had any sort of leadership experience up to this point. So I'm going to tie these into some of what I've experienced and, why these aren't true.
Hey, Austin, this is Professor Doctor. We don't see your screen anymore. Just a heads up.
Oh, really? Let me see.
Sorry about that.
No worries. Let me try resharing it again. How's that? You see that now?
Yes, sir. It's all good now. Just want to let you know.
Okay. Let me know if something else happens again. Okay. So some of my experience with these misconceptions. For one, throughout my life, I really saw myself taking a backseat role quite often. Even though I'm a social person, I like to interact with others. I really felt like leadership meant like I had to be mean or arrogant, and I didn't want other people to dislike me for that reasoning or somewhere along that line. So it kind of pushed me away from going into those leadership roles. And then going to that misconception about not being involved so much, and that means that you don't have any leadership experience. Well, up until my MBA, I wasn't involved on campus in clubs or in general. A lot of the time I was going to school, I was doing my work, I was coming back, I was working outside of school, or I was tutoring, I was doing something along those lines, but I wasn't getting involved on campus. And a lot of this lack of involvement during my undergrad really led to a lot of self-doubt about how I could fit in. So I would think to myself, well, I haven't been in a club all the way through my undergrad, I haven't been involved. How am I going to get involved now? And, it was just a snowball effect, essentially. So my turning point. So one of the things that I realized was in my math program that I wanted to pivot into my MBA. So I think you come to a point where you start to realize you're going to school, you're doing all this work. I'm doing a lot of math problems. I'm in my room and doing it for hours and hours. And now I'm in my senior year of my undergrad. And you're thinking, well, where am I going to go with this? Like, what is my path leading me to? And when I started to reflect on that, my path that I was going towards was something along the lines of research or getting my PhD. And I had to do some self-reflection of, is this what I really want? And I know there's a lot of people who come to that same realization. And, I started thinking that my goals when I was a kid was I wanted to have my own business. I wanted to do something where I was leading teams, and I didn't feel like I was getting that with my math program. So I started to research other options. What could I do to kind of correlate more with what I wanted as a kid? So I did my research, and I actually got an email from my school about the MBA program. It's like an info session. So I was like, you know what, let me go check it out. It seems like something I might be interested in. And I went to that info session, and I was blown away. I was like, wow, this is something that really relates to me, something I really think I might enjoy. So I kind of decided from there, like, let me do my research. And eventually, after doing my research, I was like, you know what, this is for me. This is the pivot that I want to make, and I feel like it's the best. So stemming from this, I got a bigger desire to, grow my leadership style and confidence. I knew I would need to if I was going to go in this path of business, and especially in an MBA. You have to have good communication skills. You're going to work with a lot of other people. So that's where my desire started to grow a lot. But I knew it was going to be, a matter of taking baby steps to getting involved and starting to grow myself. Can you see my screen still, by chance?
Yep, all good.
Okay, cool. All right, so some of the key phrases that I like to live by. So one of the things that came up was during my orientation of my MBA. I had these aspirations to be a better leader, to start to grow. And during my orientation, there was a speaker, and she came in, and she was talking about how we could grow our leadership styles. She gave us a lot of advice. She told us resume tips, but this was the one key line that she highlighted the most, which was get comfortable doing the uncomfortable. And, sometimes you hear these sentences, or you hear a word and it's just a sentence, or it's just a word. But to me, it's what you do with that sentence or that word, and if you decide to live by it and follow through. And for me, when I heard the sentence, get comfortable doing the uncomfortable, I knew it was something that I wanted to live by, and it was something that was going to push me out of my comfort zone to be a better leader and to actually stem growth. And the other phrase being embrace failure was another thing that I lived by all throughout my MBA that I've been doing so far. And that's not something that she said at the orientation, but it's just something that I've come to live by, and it's probably something that you've heard before. But some of the ways in which you can get comfortable doing the uncomfortable, it can really be simple. So raising your hand once per class. What this can do, this can enable you to, either answer questions correctly, or even if you're not answering them correctly, you're just putting yourself out there in front of others. Even if you're failing in front of others, it's just going to continue to build that confidence. It's going to give you more reps with it, and it's going to all the better you as a leader going forward. Another thing that you can do is just sparking up a conversation with a stranger. If you're someone that feels like you need to work on your communication skills, or you need to get better at speaking, that's something that is going to emphasize your compassion for others. You're going to be able to get to know your teams better. There's so much that comes from even just sparking up a conversation with a stranger, whether it's at the store or it's your classmate, just talking about something simple. So the other thing is volunteering every time that you have the opportunity to do so. So when I say volunteering every time you have the opportunity to do so, step up, answer questions for one, or take that lead role on a project, or, sometimes, especially in my program, like you'll run certain skits and they'll want you to come up in front of the class and act something out. Like that can be really nerve-wracking, so throw yourself out there, do it. Maybe it sucks, maybe your heart's beating really fast, but you're going to feel better afterwards, and it's going to get that much easier the next time you do it. So all of these sorts of things, I'll talk about how they shaped confidence in me in the next few slides. So I want to jump back though, and I want to say and talk about like what are some of the characteristics of a leader. So I'm going to read through these first, and then I'm going to kind of expand on them a bit. So number one is confidence. Next, self-awareness, empathy and compassion, communication, adaptability, collaboration and inclusivity, and integrity and accountability. So I'm going to go over a couple of these, and the first one being confidence. So you want to have confidence as a leader because you want others to be able to look at you and have a higher trust in your judgment, and that you can overcome those challenges together. Sometimes people may become overwhelmed by this trust, or your team wants that one person to look to in order to instill them that we can get through this together. So, and confidence comes over time. It's not something that everyone always has to start off with. I'll tell you, even for myself, I definitely have not always been the most confident person, but I'm still working on it, and it's something that you always will work on. So the next thing, and I'd say almost one of the biggest things, is self-awareness. So that includes being open to feedback. So I would say for myself that this is an area that I've tried to grow in a lot, is being self-aware, because it's so easy to get feedback from a team, either a professor or your classmates. And essentially, if it's not positive feedback, take it negatively and really put yourself down. And, that's not going to end up taking you anywhere. If you're someone who's open to feedback, the more you start to fall in love with it, the more you're going to grow. So for me, I'm always looking for feedback now. I'm always looking to improve, whether it's in school, whether it's at work, and it's something that's going to take you so far as a leader. The next thing is empathy and compassion. So I really want to tie this in with the misconceptions of leadership that I talked about earlier. That one of the things I had thought before was that you have to be arrogant or you have to be mean in order to lead a team effectively. And quite frankly, it's the opposite. Being empathetic and compassionate to your team is going to take you so much farther than being arrogant or being mean is going to. So getting to know your team, I'm going to tie this in with communication. Getting to know your team for more than just your coworker or your team member. Getting to know them to a point where you find, what drives them, what motivates them. That's going to have them come in and give their 110% every day, and just being compassionate, checking in with them, and essentially making sure that they're doing okay and that they don't need anything from you. It's going to go so far. And I'll kind of talk about where that came in during my internship as well. So the last thing I really want to delve into is the adaptability aspect. And adaptability is key when you're a leader, because you're going to realize, and I'm sure plenty of you have realized up to this point, you will make a plan for something, and that plan can go out the window really fast, especially in the industry that I'm in. You may make a plan for a certain number to hit at the end of the day, and you have it all set up, and you think, oh, this many people are going to leave sick, and then everything goes out the window, and you say, okay, well, how can I manage for this? Like I thought I had it all planned out, and it starts to build, and you start to feel stressed. And that's where you have to be adaptable. You have to know that, pretty much go into it knowing, like, my plan probably isn't going to go this way, but I'm going to be open to any other pathways that might emerge that will get me through this situation. So being adaptable as a leader, it's so important, and it's going to take you far to have that skill and characteristic. So starting a leadership journey. So emerging as a leader, it involves implementing aspects like these as much as you can. So some of the things, like I said, about raising your hand or just throwing yourself out there as much as you can, taking that initiative on projects, whatever it may be, these are all going to help you emerge as a leader that you can be. The next thing is put yourself out there. Maybe a friend or an acquaintance in leadership. Ask them about it. How can you get involved? Ask them what they do, and it's going to blow your mind. Like, hey, they're telling me this. Like, I think I could do that. Like they really inspired me, and I've heard and I've used that myself to get into the position I am now. And the other huge thing is utilize your resources around you. So maybe you're going to get to know a friend, or you're trying to make acquaintances in some field that you like. Go to those campus events, whether it's a club or whether it's just some other event that the school is hosting. Most of the time they're free, and most of the time it's a great opportunity to find a place where other students or people that have common interests as you are going to be, and you can talk to them and you can learn from them. It's amazing what can come from something simple like that. And your professors, like, I can't emphasize how much your professors can help you. They are amazing. And I think that even myself has taken for granted the amount of help they can provide you, or the resources. It's all about the effort that you put in, because at the end of the day, they want the best for you, and they're going to provide that. And I'll tell a little bit of a story on how I got help from one of my professors, and even how it led me to my journey now. But I'll talk about that a little more now, or in just a bit. But ultimately, the more you're involved, the more that leadership opportunities are going to arise. So I just want you guys to remember that. Okay. So how I've implemented these into my journey. I talked about it a little bit, but after, that orientation, and just what I wanted to kind of follow through with, was just volunteering in a classroom setting whenever possible. I was always raising my hand. I was always putting myself out there, doing the little skits. Like, there was so many of those things where my heart was pounding. I didn't want to do it, but I knew that for me to grow, I had to. So the next thing is just taking initiative on group projects. I was making sure I was that leader. I was the one that was setting deadlines, or I was checking with my team, seeing what they needed. And just those little things, you'll be surprised. Like, you start to feel like a leader yourself, and it starts to get easier, even with small things like group projects like that. The next thing is I connected with classmates. I got to know them more. I networked. And the more you network, you learn things from people, and you'll pick up on stuff. And the other thing is that kind of story I wanted to go into with a professor on how they helped me get me involved. So essentially, I was taking an organizational and behavior class for my MBA program. And this professor essentially went over a lot of things regarding leadership, regarding feedback, regarding networking, all sorts of different things that kind of overall help you as a leader and grow as a student. And I felt that she was like the perfect person for me to just reach out to, and just see if I can come to her with some of my concerns or some of my questions, and see how she could help me. So I reached out to her, and I just, I brought up, like, hey, I want to get involved with clubs. I want to try and get better at my public speaking ability. What do you think? Like, what advice do you have for me? And it blew my mind that she was just so open to, sitting with me during office hours, talking things through with me. And she was the one who actually put me in connection with the president and vice president at the time of Supply Chain Society. So I got in contact with them. I got to sit down and got to learn more about the club, and they were so open to answering all my questions. And it's like that one email of just putting in the effort to talk to my professor and see if she would be able to help me on my journey, it changed my outlook on everything. And some people, like myself, sometimes you need some sort of accountability to follow through with some of these goals that you have. And there's nothing better than reaching out to your professor, them giving you those resources and feeling like, look, they put in this effort to find these things for me. Like, let me follow through. Let me go about and pretty much follow through with what they're giving me and see what I can do to improve myself. Like, I reached out initially, I wanted to get better. Let's do this. So next is with my internship. So everything I've talked about so far really helped make my internship experience easier to an extent, and I'm really looking forward to talking about that a little more on these next slides. So the last question I'll answer, which maybe it's already been covered, is how and why I got involved with a club. So I got involved with a club, number one, to improve my leadership capabilities, and number two, because I wanted to be involved on campus more. I wanted to make a shift from the student that I was and get better. So my MBA goals when I got in there, it was two main things, which was growing as a leader and obtaining an internship. So I want to talk about securing my internship now. So my internship, I know a lot of people maybe will come on and maybe they'll just talk about their successes, but I think it's more than fair to talk about the failures that you have as well. And I want to talk about mine personally. So during that senior year of my undergrad, I applied to hundreds of applications and I didn't even get an interview. I got rejected so many times, and it can really take a number on your confidence. You can think, man, what am I doing wrong? What can I do better? And when I got into my MBA program, they gave a lot of advice on, resume help, as well as how to prepare for career fairs, and a big emphasis on just going to those career fairs, something that I wasn't really doing during my undergrad. So I took these into account, and I went to my first career fair. I thought my resume was great. I went in there, had a little pitch down, and I went to that first career fair, and I waited for this company. I was in line for about 30 minutes, and I got up to the front, and I gave my spiel and everything, and I thought I did a pretty good job. And I was like, oh, this is great. And I asked them afterwards. I asked for that feedback, that great feedback that I told you guys a little about earlier. And I said, how'd you guys think I did? Is there anything I can improve on? And as much as I look back on what they said now and thought it was like it's a good thing now, at the time I was like devastated by it. So some of those things that they told me, number one, they had said like my resume formatting was just bad. It was not good, that I needed to go somewhere, I needed to fix it. Number two was that I was lacking involvement on campus, and that was something that they were looking for, to see that I'm a leader essentially, and they wanted to see that with students. So that was another big one. And then the last one was more along the lines of they wanted to see me do more research going into some of my talks with the companies. So, I finished that, and I'd be lying to you if I didn't say that I went home. I left the career fair right after that, and I was sulking for a few hours. And I thought to myself, like, where do I go from here? My confidence was taken down from where it was. I feel like kind of hopeless. Like, how am I going to get an internship? And I came to the realization of, am I going to use this to build myself back up, or am I just going to continue to focus on it and have it bring me down? And, the next career fair was about a week later. So I knew, like, I'm going to use this. I'm going to do what they said, and I'm going to improve. So I used some of those campus resources to help improve my resume even better. And one of the things that I will say is, like, you need to stand out when you come to these career fairs. So put a big emphasis on that. When you're going up to those companies and talking to them, don't have your shoulders slouched. Don't, have a serious face. Be smiling. say some facts about the company, show what you know, and be yourself, you know. But I will say, so one of the things too is sometimes making your flaws your strength can be something that's very powerful that you may not even think about. So what I come up with, because there's only so much that you can do in regards to, I wasn't involved with clubs, so I wasn't going to have that on-campus leadership experience. I'm just going to throw it out there when I talk to those employers. So I threw it out there when I talked to some of those employers at the next career fair, and I said, like, look, I know I don't have that on-campus leadership experience right now, but I'm looking to get into it, and I'm putting myself out there to try and get involved. But just because I don't have that on-campus leadership experience doesn't mean that I'm not a leader. I'm doing all these other things on the outside. I'm constantly staying busy, and that's played an effect on why I haven't gotten involved up to this point. So I emphasize my strengths in just constantly working, tutoring, and how those have built me as a leader. So show them who you truly are and show them that you are still a leader. So next, I want to go into kind of my internship at Target. So once I got the internship, my goal shifted from, getting an internship to how do I get this offer? So each day I would lead about 60 plus people on the daily. And there was a lot of aspects that allowed me to grow myself, especially in terms of public speaking. And that came with every morning I had to do a 15-minute presentation in front of all these people. So, when I talk about putting those reps in and getting better, every time I remember going up there the first time and I didn't know any of these people. And it was like, man, I'm so nervous. My heart's pounding on my chest. Like, I don't even know if I know what school I go to anymore. Like, it's crazy how those things can play an effect on you. But over time, over that course of 8 weeks that I was with Target during the internship, it became easier and easier each day that I did it. So, and even with a big team like this, I want to go back again to just being compassionate and being empathetic with your team, communicating with them. You only go as far as your team takes you. So that was one of the things that when I went around and I talked to my team, even with it being so big, spread it out over time. Get to know a couple people a day throughout the course of that 8-week internship, and you'll be surprised how much you actually know about all the people on your team by the end of it. And that's what I really felt. And from the team themselves, they had told me, like, they really appreciated that I would get to know them, that I could remember a little something about them, whether it was something about their kids or just something that they enjoy as a hobby and bringing it back up. They love those sorts of things, and it makes them motivated to want to push and do more for you and put in that full effort, essentially. So when I say you only go as far as your team takes you, I really mean that, and you will see that. So the other thing that the internship taught me was that failure is imminent. So I think so many of us are afraid to fail. Even myself, I'm sometimes afraid to fail as well. But it's a part of the process, and that's something they emphasize so much throughout is put yourself out there, fail. It's going to get easier, it's going to get better, and I feel myself that the most growth comes from that failure. So how did I secure that offer? I will say that I secured the offer just by going in there, being myself, being energetic, smiling, asking a lot of questions. And the big one that I will say is getting that feedback, asking for feedback. So even if you go to those career fairs or you're in a group project or a professor, ask for feedback, because I guess sometimes you don't realize how great that makes you look, that you want to improve yourself and you want to know where you're going wrong. So when I had my exit reflections from my leadership team at Target, that was one of the things that they highlighted, and they said that they really appreciated that I did. I know that there were several times where I was sitting there kind of in the office. I was on like a short break. And I thought to myself, like, I wonder if there's anything I could do better. What can I do? And I remember those instances, either getting up, going to my mentor, or going to my senior manager's office because they had an open door policy, and just sitting there and asking them, hey, is there anything I can improve upon? Is there anything else you're looking for? And things like that really make an impact on what your leaders or those around you, how they see you. So, and the other thing, what I learned about myself and my leadership style, I really learned that pretty much the type of leader I want to be is one who's empathetic and compassionate, and that is going to find what motivates my team and make them not feel like a huge pressure essentially to work for me, but that they want to do it themselves. So, and leading through challenges. So I want to talk about some of the big challenges that I faced during the internship and just during school as well. So I'm going to say that some of the biggest challenges for me personally that I've had really revolve around confidence and difficult conversations. So sometimes maybe these can be thrown in the same sector, but I just want to give a little bit of insight on that. So
为什么你发音呢？发现了。
And like I said, I was going every morning and giving that 15-minute presentation, and there was also smaller ones throughout the day that I have to give with the other operations managers in the department. Those things helped me just by doing them over and over. So don't disregard how much just doing the reps of something can help you and help you improve as a leader. So the next thing is having difficult conversations. So that's one thing that a lot of us maybe don't have a ton of experience with. If you maybe haven't been in the workforce as much, or maybe you just don't like to have them, you might be afraid of them. I know I was, especially, and I had some difficult conversations prior to the internship, but once I got into it, it was hard because it is a business and there are expectations that team members are required to meet, whether that's meeting their numbers or just meeting safety requirements. So I want to say like what I did to kind of navigate through that sort of challenge. And I think a difficult conversation becomes that much easier when you come from essentially seeking to understand perspective. So come in, just ask, check on them, see how they're doing, see what they're noticing out there, and kind of just reestablish expectations. It doesn't have to be this, I come right at you and I'm mean and, I'm putting you down. But when you come at the difficult conversation from that angle, they take it so much better and they will respect you so much more for that. So a lot of this ties in with, the confidence, communication skills kind of part. But these are some of the challenges that I faced and what I kind of did to navigate through them. So the last thing, or basically last thing I'll talk about, is the you in leadership. So being a leader, just remember, it's not about being someone that you're not. It's about being you, but now you're in a leadership role. Don't doubt yourself so much, but just know that being a leader comes with time. So leadership is about becoming a better version of yourself. And just remember that there isn't one set way to lead. As you go about your career or you go about school, you lead projects, you're going to see a variety of different kinds of leaders, and you're going to see their styles, and you're going to see what works or maybe some that don't work. Maybe the ones that do work, you could take little bits and pieces and you can try them out yourself. There's nothing limiting you to say like you have to lead in this one way. Like you will find what works for you and what other people, who are on your team, what works for them as well. So just keep that in mind. But thank you guys so much for listening and basically hearing what I had to say. I did put my QR code for my LinkedIn there. If any of you guys would like to connect or get some more insights, ask me questions, I'm more than open to that. And then I also put a QR code for the club, Supply Chain Society, right there as well. If you guys would be interested in that, it is open to the public. So we have events, we have site tours and things of that nature if you are interested. So thank you guys so much, and I look forward to answering any questions you have.
Let's give Austin a round of applause. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate that, Austin. We could take a few questions to go over, as he mentioned, if there's any questions for him. And if not, then we'll just go into our next segment. I think we have one in the chat box. Give me 1 second. Yes. It says, what advice would you give to someone who is generally trying to grow as a leader, volunteering, stepping up, learning, but then faces some negativity or resentment from his peers at work or school?
So I guess some of the advice I would give if you're facing negativity or resentment from your peers, I think really that should, if you're feeling resentment just because you're trying to step up, maybe ask for some feedback just to kind of see, like, maybe there's something that it could be that something that you're doing that maybe off-puts them, but it could not be. Just kind of gather that feedback on, like, how are you doing? But if not, I mean, I think sometimes you will face negativity, and kind of just put that noise out and know what you're trying to do to grow. So, kind of ask that question back to them, or, if that's something you're noticing, and see, is there something they're truly not liking, and, how can you grow, or what are they expecting from you? Sometimes getting those expectations from your classmates or whatever else, it can be just as important just to grow and learn. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, excellent. Thank you so much, Austin. That was from Jose, and thank you. That was a good question, Jose. This is from Jennifer. It says, what's the most difficult leadership decision you had to make, and what did you learn from it?
Ooh, it's a good one. Let me think about that for just a second.
Good question.
重来，重来。
Most difficult leadership decision you've had to make. Maybe at the intern trip or school or club.
Yeah, so I mean, I think in terms of difficult leadership decision that I've had to make, one of the things I guess sometimes is hard can be like you start to develop relationships with your team. So for example, with Target, you start to develop relationships with these individuals, and you might get to know someone a lot more that's extremely nice to you, and you care about them as a person, but then they might do something wrong. They might not follow a certain safety compliance, or they might not be hitting their numbers on the daily, and having to kind of go and have that conversation with them, and then kind of even get pushback, like, I thought we were friends. Like, that's one of the things I found to be most difficult, is kind of having those conversations with someone that you might be close to, and still have to, you have to be a leader at the end of the day. Like, you are still required to hit your numbers and run a business. So at least for me, that is and has been one of the most difficult things.
Excellent. That was well said. We have a question. We only have time for one more question, unfortunately. These are good questions. It says, how do internships differ at the MBA program level than from the undergrad level?
So I think the biggest difference would just come with the type of roles that you would be going for. So if you're going to do some sort of internship and your MBA program, it's definitely going to be more in the leadership side of things, or the management side of things. You're probably going to be going for a higher up position relative to what you would in the undergrad level. At least that's from what I've seen. The opportunities for you to get into those higher roles because of the MBA are more prevalent, and it will stick out more. Like, you will have those opportunities for those higher leadership positions.
Excellent. I wish I could ask you more. These students have wonderful questions going on. There's so many right now, but we just don't have time, students. I apologize. I just think, Austin, thank you for a great presentation, and I just wish we could get to all these wonderful questions. So those that did ask questions, you do have his QR code that we did show on the last slide. And if you want to reach out to Austin, he'd love to help, I'm sure. And just thank you for the engaging collaboration back and forth. I think that's wonderful. So now we're going to go on to our next segment of the presentation. And this is regarding our new social media marketing program certificate. It consists of 4 classes, all within marketing. But I think what sets Mount SAC apart from all the other schools is that we have a focus in social media. And social media, as we all know, is booming and making the life blood of our business these days. If you're a small business, if you're just getting into business. And we have a great class. BUSS 34 is kind of my favorite. And it has a kind of a simulation aspect to it for students of how to market something on Etsy or whatever. And it's really engaging. So if you'd like to, please sign up for these classes. We'd love to have you a part of this segment of our mini 27 different programs here at Mount SAC in the business management department. Next, We're going to be introducing one of our professors, Stephen Valdez, and letting him share a
这个
piece
不一样，
about counting and what's going on in the next
没关
conference.
系。
Go ahead, Professor Valdez.
Well, thank you, Derek, and thank you, Austin. Austin, fantastic speech today. It was,
按摩。
I overheard a little bit of it. Great job. Just thank you again. Good luck in everything that you do. We really appreciate
怎么你
you.
他们聪明？
Thank you, Derek and Regina, for setting up this terrific series
还有
here.
2个。
Really quickly, I would like to have a plug for our upcoming accounting conference. And if you really like just
先把2
Austin's
个
message
办完。
today regarding leadership, this accounting conference is definitely free. It's open to everybody. It is free for everybody. So I just dropped the flyer in the chat here as well. If you like leadership talk, if you like guest speakers, you like hearing people from the industry, this is definitely the conference for you. This is our 4th annual Mount Sac Cal CPA
把这个办。
conference. It's going to be held on November 15th
啊，
from 7 a.m. to 2
把这个
p.m.
办了。
Saturday
对啊，
here at Mount
你是
Sac
改吗？
Global College at the Student Summit Center, which is a phenomenal building. And our accounting conference is our flagship program for our
对，把
accounting
这个拿
department, our
下来。
accounting and management department this semester. So again, we're hoping to have, last year we had 250 attendees. We're hoping to push 300 again. The event is free and just deals a lot with just the
拿这个
CPA exam. It deals with networking. We're gonna have speed mentoring and networking, power lunch, and TED Talk segments. So if you liked Austin's presentation today regarding leadership in those type of situations, this is definitely the conference for you.
Yeah, students, first of all, thank you, Professor Valdez. But did you hear what Professor Valdez said? It's free. There's going to be food and it's networking. I mean, this is the opportunity of a lifetime, we'd say.
比较好
And
过
so
的。
we definitely want you guys all to be there. I'm going to be giving out extra credit in my classes for those that attend. And so we're all looking forward to seeing you there and seeing Professor Valdez. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to the next segment. We'll
Huh?
end with Professor Martinez.
Yes, so thank you everyone for coming. Professor Doctor, could you go to the QR code? I think one of our students wanted to see the QR code one more time. So if you could get to that, that would be great.
Real
But
quick, can we have Austin share his screen? It's on his.
oh, okay.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'll share it right now.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So as Austin's getting that up, we just wanted to thank you again for taking the time to be on the Zoom call. We hope you had a lot of great takeaways, and we want to thank Austin. So maybe we could use a virtual clap for Austin again. Thank you for keeping us motivated. Thank you for sharing your experiences with us. I'm sure it helped at least, several of us today in one way or another. So Mounties, thank you for being here, and let's, keep on going, finish this semester strong, and do the best that we can this semester. So thank you again. Thank you for investing in your professional growth, and we hope to see you on campus or maybe virtually soon. So take care, everyone. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you. Goodbye. Thank you, Austin. Thank you, Professor Valdez.
Thank you again, Austin. Take care.